Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Never leave anything unpodcasted.
Great.
Hello, everybody. It's time for an emergency episode of Blank Check with Griffin and David. My name's Griffin Newman.
I'm David Sims. Red alert. That's
Emergency
We've
episode.
got the red mood lighting.
We're recording right now in a studio where we only have red lights turned on.
Dark, moody lead lights.
It either looks like an emergency situation inside a submarine, or we're all gonna fuck each other.
Yeah, this is Crimson Tide 2.
It does feel like it.
I'm Gene Hackman.
I'm Denzel Washington. With us, as always, is producer Tony Scott, a.k.a. Producer Tony Scott.
Yada, yada.
Okay, emergency episode.
Hey.
Red alert, red alert.
Oh.
We know everyone's been waiting for our Christopher Nolan miniseries.
Well, you're going to have to keep waiting.
Yeah.
One more week.
The pod night will cast, but not for another week.
What if every week there's a movie as crazy as this movie, so we just keep having... Look, we know you want to hear the Nolan. We recorded it 6 years ago, but we just have to talk about whatever.
Can I make you a promise right now?
Yeah.
If every week there's a movie as crazy as this one, I will murder myself.
Great.
Oh, God.
No,
Please? Hey, don't do that. All right, anyway.
If every week there's a movie as crazy as this, I will leave detailed instructions for how you should murder me. That's what I will do.
On the record.
On the record. Okay, so emergency episode. A movie's come out this week. Quietly.
Yeah, pretty quietly.
It tried to just sneak past everyone.
Correct.
But anyone who saw it can't stop talking about it.
Yes, i.e., 14 people can't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a movie that ties into certain themes that have been going on with our show. It's very much a blank check movie. It's directed by a man who I've often encouraged our listeners to punch in the penis.
Attack, yes. To injure.
And also, this man is next going to make a Phantom Menace movie.
He's
gonna
slated to make the 9th Phantom Menace movie.
He's going to direct a Star War. And so there are overlaps here. Now, this is not a bad movie podcast. It's not like we're just going to, anytime a stinker comes out, team up to rag on.
Right, and I want to make that clear because I feel like that's more my bugaboo than yours, but
Sure.
it's for sure. Yeah, I don't
that's a
want us
bugaboo
to
of
be
mine.
a bad movie podcast because I think there's a lot of podcasts that do that really well.
Agreed. And we've done our last couple miniseries have been mostly directors who have a lot of success.
Right, and obviously, yes, we've started off as a Phantom Menace. You know, we've talked about the Star Wars prequels, yada yada yada. But
Wachowski, Shyamalan, Crow are all people
You know,
who sort of fell from grace, at least in terms of the court of public opinion.
even then, though, we've always been movie fans first, and that's one of the things that makes our podcast so good. This podcast is called Blank Check, by the way.
Right. We try to find something good about every movie.
Yeah,
We really do. I think we really do.
I agree.
But you saw a movie at a critic screening on Wednesday and texted me and said, I don't understand this.
It's bonkers.
It's
bonkers. It's bonkers. It felt like a dream I had.
And then
you know when you have a dream that you see a movie,
Yeah.
and then you wake up and you're like, oh, that movie didn't make any sense. Within my dream, obviously. Like once I dreamed before The Dark Knight had come out. Speaking of Christopher Nolan, before The Dark Knight Rises came out, I dreamed that I saw it.
Oh, I do that all the time. With movies I'm excited for,
But
I dream them and they don't make sense.
Right, I saw it, but it was outside and it was like being projected onto the sky.
Yeah.
And it was called 20 Years But More Italians. That was the name of the movie.
Wow.
Yes. Anyway.
Well, so I'll have dreams like that where I dream that I'm seeing The Dark Knight Rises, but then the second the dream, in the dream when the movie ends, I walk out of the theater, I'm like, oh wait, that's weird that Catwoman wasn't in it at all. Because she was in the trailers and Anne Hathaway's part of the advertising campaign. It's just oh, your dumb memory forgot.
Okay.
Okay, anyway.
Sorry.
You saw this movie and said, it's bonkers. It kind of broke me. And then I went to go see Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, by myself on a Thursday in the most on-brand move of all time.
Yeah, in the most Griffin thing that's ever happened. Have we introduced ourselves in the name of this podcast?
Yeah, I'm Griffin Newman. David Sims is Blank Check with Griffin and David.
Okay, sorry.
Producer
Just
Ben,
wanna
aka
make sure.
Ben Deucer, aka the Poet Laureate, aka the Haas, aka Mr. Positive, aka the Tiebreaker, aka Birthday Benny, aka Dirtbike Benny, aka Sook and Wet Benny, aka the Meat Detective, the Fart Lover.
Please, go on.
Graduated Certain tells over the course of different miniseries. Kyle Ben, producer Ben Kenobi, Say Anything, Ben Night Shyamalan, Ben Say, Ailey Benz with the Dollar Sign of Warhas. We've introduced ourselves.
Yes,
Yeah, we're all here.
It's all here.
I don't know anything about this movie. I've never even heard of it.
So I walk out of Captain Underpants, and what's starting at the screen right next to mine, the 7 o'clock Thursday night first showing publicly of this movie, and I went, I got to do it. I got to face it. I got to open the book.
Right. Got to open the Book of Henry.
And that's what I did. I opened the Book of Henry, and I texted David, and I said, we got to do it.
And I said, no, please no, I don't want to. Let's not do it.
Because we don't like ragging on movies.
Honestly, and I honestly don't, as much as I think Colin Trevorrow is a bad filmmaker.
Right. Someone begging to have his penis punched.
You know, and I'm not a fan. Like, I do get a little sick of the sort of herd or horde mentality that can build up on the internet about certain filmmakers, about certain artists, about certain actors.
Yeah.
And, like, look, the guy made a bad movie. It's not like he's out here being...
Correction, the guy made 3 bad movies.
Sure, but each worse... Well, no, actually, the second movie's the best of them. But, you know...
Well, I disagree with that.
What you think Safety Not Guaranteed is better than Jurassic Park?
I do.
All right, go watch Safety Not Guaranteed, my friend. You will reverse that opinion.
I mean, this is like ranking different types of syphilis.
I'm serious because
like,
I think people are. That's a common and like go watch Safety Not Guaranteed.
I hate Safety
It'll
Not
blow
Guaranteed.
your mind how much you hate
that
it.
movie.
Anyway.
I like more of that
now,
movie.
listen to me piling on. No, I like Jurassic Park because it has dinosaurs in it, which are cool, even though they do a lot of things I don't agree with.
Politically.
Yeah, exactly. I'm politically anti-dinosaur. No, but so I don't want to be like kicking the guy when he's down, essentially.
Agreed. And as I said, we usually, even when we talk about movies that are disastrous, really try to find the silver lining
Well,
in them.
not only that, we are fascinated with the directors. Like George Lucas, M. Night Shyamalan,
Right.
Cameron Crowe, they make bad movies, but we're still like, you know, there was a point in our lives when we were into these guys, or there will be a point again.
And as, you know, our past...
I've never been into this motherfucker.
As our past and future guest, J.D. Amato, friend of the podcast, has said, he thinks every movie is about its director.
Yeah.
You know? And I still can't fucking crack this guy's psychology. It's a mess, but these 3 movies are very different.
Yeah.
They're all fucked up in different ways. There are some similarities.
I think there's some similarities.
There are some, but I still can't figure out what the fuck is driving him.
I don't either. I don't know that anything is. You know, there are some directors where it's like, you know, maybe probably best not to overthink it because,
Right.
like, in the end of the day, they just want to make movies and they, you know, he's not someone who, he writes, no.
He very much refers to himself as a screenwriter, even though he hasn't really written on his
He
movie.
has 2 writing credits in the 2 Jurassic Worlds. He's not the writer of Safety Not Guaranteed or this movie, but I assume he, you know, he had a hand in writing them. But yeah, he's more of a director. Wants to direct.
Talks of himself as a screenwriter in interviews. I read interviews of his because I'm a masochist.
He's a tough guy in an interview, I'll admit. He doesn't come off great sometimes. But anyway, he made a movie.
He made a movie, The Book of Henry. Now, look, I love hyperbole. Some would say I like hyperbole.
You always say it funny. It's just fine. Yeah, carry on.
I can't say hyperbole. I can't say hyperbole.
I mean, you can if you want. No one's stopping you. Carry on.
I love hyperbole.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Some could say I like hyperbole more than anyone else in the world.
You're a fan. Oh, here it comes. Here comes some hyper. I just figured out what you're setting up.
But I walked out of this movie.
Uh-huh.
And before I walked out, around 30 minutes in, I went, geez, is this happening? This is my least favorite movie I have ever seen.
Now,
Period, full stop, end of sentence. Rip
Okay.
out the page, burn it.
I disagree, but it is a very bad movie.
I'm not
It's
saying
probably
it's-
the worst film I've seen this year.
Look, I'm not saying this is the worst movie ever made. I would never make any claim like that. I will say I have never hated
it
watching
beating?
a movie more. What's it beating?
What's it beating? Like
Francis
what-
Ford Coppola's Jack. That used to be the movie I
right.
hated watching the most.
I think I hate Jack more than this movie. There's a lot of movies I hate more than this movie for the reason that I wouldn't like a movie like Jack, which is like...
Those are similar movies, Jack and Book of Henry. They have a lot of similar qualities that make me hate them.
weird manipulativeness and atonal kind of...
Right, and this maudlin, like...
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of quasi-maudlin.
Oh, childlike wonder, but with like some really dark kind of psychologically fucked up stuff that it has no control over, oscillating between really glib humor, actors punching way below their weight class.
Yes. But anyway, it is a very bad film. I wrote a review of it on The Atlantic, where I work. You can read it. I think it's a failure of a movie in every way.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And so, right. And so it's not usually the kind of movie I want to talk about on this podcast. I'll admit, yes, there is something fascinating about like why it exists.
Right.
That's probably the only thing that kind of keeps you on board. It kept me on board for the hour, 45 minutes or however long it is. Like where you're just like, what does he want from us?
What's the
what
angle?
Is this trying to
here?
convey?
What's the play? So here's our plan with this episode.
And I just want to say, I saw it with Emily Ishida, past
Mother of
and future
Blankies.
guest, Mother and Blankies, one of our greatest guests.
And Armand White, past and future guest.
And Armand White.
Father of Blankies. You did sit between.
I was sitting between the two of them. And Emily and I were both pretty bewildered by the movie. We were howling by the end of it, as was Armand. And
Howl.fm.
Sure, the Widow Hal app. That's one of my favorite weird Scott Arkerman jokes. He calls the Widow Cool app, became the Widow Hal app. We were like, Jesus. So we were like, fuck, we gotta get. I was like, can we get a drink? Like,
We gotta talk about
weird.
it. You gotta talk about it.
And while we were getting a drink, Emily was talking about the movie. She's like, that is a blank check movie. That's a blank check movie.
100%.
And even though it's like a small budget movie, she's right. It is. It's a weird blank check.
There would have been a
movie.
lot more stop signs if that guy hadn't just made the third highest grossing movie in history.
Now, in my opinion, this is the blank check movie you get to make after making Safety Not Guaranteed, which is basically what it was in a weird sort of a way because he almost did make it after
in
Safety
terms of
Not
style
Guaranteed.
and size, yes. But I think people would have gone like, wait a second, the script is fucked up.
Well, I think if
They would have questioned what he was doing more if he hadn't made
maybe,
Jurassic
but we'll
World.
talk about the script. But,
Okay.
But anyway, it is a blank check movie in some sense. Everyone who's fucking tweeting at me all the time telling me how my show works, shut up. I know what goes on my show, not you little nerds. But yeah, it is kind of a blank check
Well,
movie.
people are going to love this episode.
Yep.
So here's the deal. We have both seen this movie.
They bullied me into doing this episode. I am going to call them little nerds.
To be fair, I bullied you into doing this.
Yeah, you definitely did.
We've both seen this movie. Producer Ben has not.
No, he has not. To his, I think I said at least in the text convo.
Yeah.
In the thread, I
Don't
was like,
see
Ben,
it.
don't see it.
It wasn't an option.
Have you even seen the trailer?
No.
So what do you know about this movie?
I know it's called Book of Henry.
Perfect.
And it's directed by Colin Trevorrow,
Who
whose Wikipedia you have loaded.
Yeah, I just started looking. I don't know very much about Colin Trevorrow either.
There he
Great.
is.
So here's the plan. This is the second episode we recorded today. We rarely do that because it usually makes us go crazy.
Right, but we're a little crazy.
We're trying to weaponize this. So this is going to be a bonus episode. It's going to aim to be a little tighter than we usually are because it's an emergency. Ben is about to put 1 hour on the clock.
Yeah, Ben, you got it ready?
Yes.
Now, we
for
love our
sure.
tangents. We love being verbose.
We do.
Our goal is, within an hour, to fully explain to Ben what happens in this movie.
I think we can do that.
We
I don't
may
think
not,
it's that hard.
The plot is very convoluted.
It
there are a lot of
is.
weird wrinkles.
But it's easy enough to just... Yeah, anyway.
Also, we should note I am not cutting anything. out.
Zero edits.
Use the timer, not the stopwatch.
Oh, sure, you're right.
Because I want like an
Countdown.
alarm when it goes. Tell me when you've started it.
Okay. All right. So, I wanted to pick the sound.
And Ben, if you don't understand something and how we're describing
This
the
is great
movie,
radio.
ask us, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Because
If
part of
anything's
the-
confusing, don't let us just be like, anyway, what happens is this. You
Yeah.
know, like if you want to figure something out that we're not conveying, let us know.
The goal here is for you to get the second-hand osmosis experience of having seen the Book of Henry.
Right.
So
right.
we
And
want
the
it to
same
be
goal for, I would say, some of our listeners.
right. We want it to be complete. So any follow-up questions, any clarifications, shoot. Timer
right.
started?
Starting now.
Okay, so it's a Focus Features release.
True. Made by Focus Features, which is a branch of Universal, where he made Jurassic World.
Right. Specialty Arm used to be one of the power players in the field, has sort of backed off now.
Little bit, but,
ceded
you know,
territory.
whatever.
It's more of a distribution company for like genre films than what used to be like the studio behind Lost in Translation.
Sure.
Highbrow Oscar movies, okay?
Yes.
But so that very much tells you what kind of patina he thinks this movie's in.
Griffin's favorite word. Karen.
Love patina. I heard Ron Perlman use it in an interview once 10 years ago, and I looked it up, and I was like, I'm going to use that whenever I can.
Yes, it is a green or brown film on the surface of bronze or similar metals produced by oxidation over a long period.
Okay, David, we only have an hour.
You don't want me to read the other dictionary
I mean,
definitions?
read the other one so people know why
Okay.
I'm using the word.
Okay. No, it's
Oh, is that why the Statue of Liberty looks like that?
Yes.
Oh.
But anyway, it's kind of the world they play in, right? The sort of
It's like
their palette.
the tonal veneer.
Yes.
Okay. So this movie immediately establishes its own patina, which is like fucking like third-rate Amblin.
Yes, it sort of has, especially in the beginning, in the title sequence, the title cards,
Which is like drawings that a child
of
did
cute
of like
little
wings
inventions,
and,
like
and
Ferris
Rube Goldberg
wheels.
machines. You're
it-
seeing the titular book, the pages of the book, Ben, and they're animated.
It has the feeling of an 80s Spielberg movie a little bit, or I would say, yeah, like a 90s kid movie a little bit. Those kinds of like, what's like a good example? Like Simon Birch.
Yes.
Like some like movie that would maybe
Nostalgic.
a little dark, but also kind of whimsical and intended for, young viewers.
Right, but like not as much like a supernatural thing as like a radio flyer kind of like.
Yeah.
Man, your childhood was tough sometimes kind of movie.
Right. Almost like Wonder Years-y. I mean, it's set now, but it kind of, apart from the fact that like the mom plays a PlayStation 3 or 4 or whatever.
4.
And like, I guess they have cell phones, but like, there's not a lot of like, indication that it's taking place in the 21st
And in fact,
century.
get ready, Ben, because there is some very anachronistic technology in the film.
Oh, I like that.
Now, the script was written in 1998.
The script was written in 1998 by Greg Hurwitz, who's a mystery writer.
Right.
Like he writes crime novels and comic books. He's never written a movie that was made until this.
But has like 20 scripts that have been bought at some point. He's one of those guys who seemingly just writes
yeah,
a lot
he
of
just
scripts.
makes a lot of
sells
money in
them.
Hollywood selling
Right.
scripts. He worked on V, the reboot of V.
The epic series.
The epic lizard alien
Yeah.
TV show. But yeah, he's just kind of around. So this script's been kicking around forever.
Trevorrow reads it after Safety Not Guaranteed and goes like, ooh, I like this. I want to make this next.
No, he was given it, to be clear. The
Okay.
studio decided he would be a good fit after Safety Not Guaranteed for this script that was like this script they had.
been
You
there
know,
for a while, right.
He reads it and he likes it, yes.
And then Brad Bird recommends him, and then he gets thrown Jurassic World, and then he makes that. And now he has like full cachet, and he could do whatever he wants. And he's like, you know what I'm doing? I'm going back to the book, baby.
Let me try. I actually have some like an interview with Greg Hurwitz, who went to Harvard.
Okay.
So this interview was in Harvard's alumni magazine.
Great.
He says he wrote it 18 years ago. It felt like this pure, rare thing where I thought of a single mom and 2 kids in an impossible predicament. And Henry's voice, the protagonist of the film, came very naturally to me. He'd already sold a novel, but this was his first screenplay. It was optioned by a producer called Jeanette Kahn. Have you heard of her, Griffin?
No, I mean, just you reading that quote from him made me physically
I
angry.
know. And she saw Safety Not
Getting
Guaranteed.
flashbacks to this movie.
She saw Safety Not Guaranteed, offers this script to Colin Trevorrow, and
Yeah.
listen to this. Colin meets with Greg Hurwitz and says to Greg Hurwitz, listen, there's only one way I wouldn't do this movie. I had a meeting with Spielberg about doing the next Jurassic movie, but there's no way that would ever happen with me coming off such a tiny movie, so let's not worry about it. And then a few weeks later, he calls Greg Hurwitz and is like, so I got Jurassic.
But then he went back to Book of Henry.
And then he says in this convo, maybe I'll be able to do it and then come back and we can make it. But at the same time, he's saying like, look, I mean, obviously someone else wants to make the movie. I'm not going to like Bigfoot you on this. He's like,
But like, he had all the power he wanted after Jurassic World.
For
And
sure.
It led
So
to
he
him
didn't
getting
have to
hired to
come
make
back.
Star Wars.
You're right. It wasn't like he was like, he'd signed a deal and it's like, you owe me a Book of Henry before you go make a Star Wars,
He had what was, at that point in time, the biggest opening weekend in history. And the film ended up as the number 3 movie domestically until it was knocked down a peg by Force Awakens.
Fine, but it was a huge hit.
Humongous. So he could have done anything he wanted. And he said, I want to go back to Book of Henry. It's burning a hole in my pocket. I got to make this movie.
To be clear, this was announced in March 2015. I've done my research here. So before Jurassic World came out, it's announced in the Hollywood Reporter, Book of Henry. That's his next project. Of course, he could have left off of it, but I think he shot this like a while ago.
He shot it right
He shot it
after
September
Jurassic World.
2015, right after Jurassic World, and it was supposed to come out September of last year.
Yes.
In an Oscar play.
Yeah.
Focus then pushes it to summer 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Weird move for a little $10 million family dramedy. Like, not really an obvious, especially
You're leaving
opening,
like 7 genres off of that list.
Fine,
But go on.
but as you sell the movie, I mean,
Sure.
and especially weird to open it against Cars 3, which is like one of the surefire family hits of the year.
After this moment, everything will change.
So that's
tagline for Cars
the production of the Book of Henry. But he makes it. He casts Naomi Watts Academy Award nominee.
Jacob Tremblay, hot off of Room.
Hot off of being in a room. You got Jaden Lieberher. How do you say his name?
Lieberhardt? I don't know. An actor I like a lot.
He's in Aloha. He's in Midnight Special.
He's in St. Vincent and is the star of the upcoming It remake.
Right. He had actually worked with Naomi Watts on St. Vincent.
Correct.
Which is nice. And then you got Dean Norris as the villain of the piece.
Sarah Silverman, Lee Pace, Bobby Moynihan.
Well, this is the thing, because I only knew about the four we first mentioned. Sarah Silverman shows up. I go to Emily and I go like, what the fuck? Bobby Moynihan, we're like, whoa, wait, he's in it? And then, Lee Pace. I don't know if Emily reacted to Lee Pace, but I was like, really? Lee Pace? Okay. And fucking Tanya Pinkins, who plays the principal, who's a really good actress.
Broadway
She's
actress.
Fucking Tony nominee. I've seen her on stage in like Caroline or Change on the British stage. Like, she's the best.
And Maddie Ziegler of Dance Moms and Sia music videos.
That's right. Yes. Little Maddie Ziegler, who I've never heard of, but I've been told is a YouTube star.
She is. She's in the Sia videos.
In the Sia videos, Chandelier.
She's a dancer. She has not really
Elastic
acted
Heart.
before in any substantial way. Ben, how much time do we have left?
You have 50 minutes.
Doing great.
52 minutes.
Okay, we got to get moving on the plot. Okay, so Twinkly, I always mispronounce his name. Michael Giacchino. Michael Giacchino.
Terrible score by him. Although, I mean, certainly poorly matched to the film.
Feels like he was told to emulate a certain kind of score.
Definitely, but it's come on. You have to admit, as much as I love the guy, it's a really horrendous score. I kept thinking, oh, what a bad score, and then when I saw it was him, I was surprised.
But I think mismatch is the key word.
Fine, but I'm holding him responsible.
Sure.
Yeah.
I hold everyone responsible. Everyone in this film should be held responsible for work.
You hear that, editor Kevin Stitt?
Okay, so the movie starts, and we are introduced to
Henry Carpenter.
What a fucking piece of shit this kid is.
This little twerp. All right, he's played by Jaden Lieberher. He's 11 years old.
He's the smartest person who's ever lived,
he's
apparently.
Like a savant.
Okay.
In every aspect
It's
of
not
being
just,
a person.
Yeah, because it's like
kind of like the Glass family kind of thing.
Beyond that.
Beyond that.
Like, he talks like a robot man.
But,
God.
they do the thing which I fucking hate, by the way.
Yeah.
One of my least favorite tropes. I'm already getting worked up about
I know. Once we get into the plot, we're going to fucking fly off
which
the
is
handle.
that thing where it's like,
Ben's adjusting the levels. We're hulking out.
Something normal happens, like the mom says something reassuring, and this doesn't happen in the movie, but this kind of trope where he immediately like almost turns to the audience and breaks the fourth wall, and he's like, okay, mom, like I understand that, right. The thing they do instead, it's show and tell.
Right.
They're giving presentations about like their career.
The opening of the movie it's like, and for our next presentation, Jimmy, and he gets up with a piece of paper.
He's
and
like,
this
I want to be a
dumb
milkman.
fucking kid missing teeth or whatever. He's
Right.
like, I grow, I will. And she was like, okay, some poorly structured
No,
sentences
she says
there.
a little basic.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
who the fuck's this teacher?
Who's this fucking
who
teacher
hates her
throwing
students?
shit? And then she's like, Henry, get up here. And Henry gets up. He doesn't have a piece of paper. Oh, this kid memorized. Or he's going off the dome.
He is.
And he gives a speech about how like fucking humanity is pointless and life is a charade. But we
he's
all
like,
have
well,
to keep.
what is wanting something if not just like a way to confront the existential despair we all face? But hey, I guess there's not, whatever. That
And
kind of
immediately
thing.
you're like, I hope this movie is an hour
About
and a
this
half
kid
of
getting
this
the
kid getting
shit
beat up.
slapped out of him. Fucking asshole. Henry.
You want to see
God.
this kid stuffed in a
No,
locker.
he
I'm
sucks.
so anti-bullying. But you're like, who's this fucking kid? Anytime anyone says anything to him in the movie,
He gives this honestly unprepared presentation.
And this is an actor I like a lot. I think he's one of the best actors of his age range.
He's okay. I mean, he's fine.
But this character is so unbearable.
Then his teacher comes up to him and is like, "Oh, Henry, why can't we put you in a gifted and talented program again?"
I've
And
he's before because social,
because it's good
psychological.
for my social development to be in a mixed age group or a mixed, intelligence group.
But
or
like
whatever.
every line of this film feels like the writer wrote it in the most obvious way to say that sentence, and then took out a thesaurus and then
cracked
replaced
out,
each word.
Really just like cracked out like Dr. Spock and like just copy pasted like some bit on child development. And then later when it's about he's talking about the stock market, you do the same thing with fucking what they don't teach you in Harvard Business School.
Right. Because like any fucking moment, I've never been prouder to not have gone to Harvard than I am now knowing that Greg Hurwitz went to Harvard. Every moment in the movie is like Naomi Watts will say like, I love you, sweetie. And he's like, banal reassurances of loving platitudes are a way to dull our minds from the existential. And you're just like, fucking just take it. He always has to like explain how what everyone else is doing is like a veneer.
Right. That's what's so annoying. That's what I'm saying. I fucking hate. I hate that trope. So he's this annoying kid.
Fucking sucks. Fuck
He
this
has
kid.
He has a little brother called Peter, played
Cute
by
kid.
Jacob Tremblay, who's like a cute kid with
Oversized
glasses. Yeah, like
and that
more
is his
of a
character. His
more
character,
of a lip Nicky.
His
would you
character is
say.
he's cute and he's got glasses.
Yeah, he's a cute little kid. He's not a like super freak, intelligent kid or anything.
Normal
kid. And then he's got a mom, Susan, who's a waitress, played by Naomi Watts.
Single mother.
Waitress at the local diner, single mother with some kind of like rough edges. Like she's not an alcoholic, but a bit of a lush. Like she's kind of a weird parent. She like plays video games all the time.
Sometimes she's characterized.
She's got a lot of bits.
Sometimes she's got a lot of business. Sometimes she's characterized like Robin Williams and Jack, where you're like, is the point here that
she
she's
like an overgrown
developmentally disabled?
child?
Because there's like some I Am Sam shit where it's like she's on the couch playing video games.
Whose seltzer is this?
I think Amy Nicholson.
Okay, I'll drink it.
We just recorded an episode with Amy Nicholson.
It's your
Spoiler.
seltzer?
Yeah, it's mine.
Oh, I'm going
Please
to drink
have
some?
some. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, but spoiler: Amy Nicholson's on an upcoming episode. Also, Jack Nicholson was on the episode.
Yeah, of course.
It was a bring your
He was like,
daughter to
hey,
podcasting.
Amy, I can't do it.
For the listener at home, David is holding his eyebrows up.
Hey, Amy. No, I can't do it. I wish I could do it.
Okay, David, enough with the fun bits. We have to go back to being angry. Okay. There's a moment where he is going over their bills.
Oh, I just want to say, right, the idea is he's the man of the house. You know, he runs
the home.
household. And that's maybe why she's this sort of Arrested Development type, because she has this super genius kid, even though he's 11. Like, what's he been running the stock market since he was 6?
That's the point.
Fuck is this?
At what point did the mom check out and go like, oh, I don't need to be an adult because my kid's an adult?
How'd she afford this nice house?
Was it 3? Was it at 9?
She's a waitress.
Yeah, and then at some point later in the film, they established that she has $780,000 in a bank account.
$680,000.
Okay.
I made it clear.
She has almost $700,000.
Yeah, she's got $650K or whatever in a bank account because this kid plays the stock market like crazy. And there's all these bits where he's like, Mom, you really should get a new car. And she's like, the old car works fine.
And they all say it in
repeat along
unison,
with
like it's
her,
a fun fucking
like it's one
thing
of her
that they all
mantras.
say, like it's a running joke. The old car works fine. Oh, yes, that specific thing only our mom says.
All right, but what did you want to say about Naomi Watts?
He's like there with like little glasses down at the bottom of the bridge of
he's
his
doing the
nose,
bills.
and he's got like 7 newspapers and bills, and he's like, "Mom, where's the FICA score and the this and that?" And Mom's like, "Oh, Henry, I'm trying to play my video
She's
game,"
playing
and
Gears of
she's
War.
like feet up on the couch playing Xbox.
Okay, I see what's going on. It's like a role reversal.
Whoa!
Right?
And
Is
he's
that
like, you
sorta-
really shouldn't lean into it because she's doing the thing when you play video games, where you kind of lean into the controller. And she's like, no, see, it totally works. It's literally like she's a 10-year-old.
Mother, you realize that leaning into a video game screen doesn't do anything, right?
Right. It's literally, that's the dynamic here.
That's the dynamic.
It's fucking Oedipal weird shit.
Right, because it also feels a little sexual. Like, it never
Yes!
crosses a line.
No, it doesn't,
because
but
she
it's
keeps on
weird.
saying, I don't need a husband, I have Henry.
Yes. And like anytime anything happens to her, she's like, well, I have to check with Henry first. And no one explicitly sits her down and says, your relationship with your son's really weird. I mean, people kind of like hint at it. Sarah Silverman kind of makes fun of it.
Sarah Silverman in this movie is styled exactly like Amy Winehouse. She has the tattoos on the boobs, she has the beehive hairdo and the eyeliner.
Yes.
She's the, like, drunk, like
She is
dangerous
a drunk. Right.
She's a full stop, like, dangerous level
She has like
alcoholic.
bottles of wine in her bra. Like
Right.
it's like she's constantly wasted.
They find her passed out on, like,
on
park
like some
benches.
wicker furniture,
Right,
in
like
the backyard
outdoors
somewhere.
shit. And she's like, why don't you just go get a man? And she's like, find me one man out there who is half as responsible, mature, and intelligent as Henry.
And it's like, don't you want to get,
Do you want to get some of that dick?
have some sex? I mean,
Have a little bit of sex?
do what you want.
Get
but,
that dick.
Like his dad's out of the picture. We don't even. I forget why.
Never explained.
He's just an
He's just
asshole
gone.
or
Oh,
something.
remember? Well, now that my husband left me with the 2 kids, they just like invoke him once. You have no idea who the fuck he is. What happened? She seems pretty high functioning. She doesn't seem like totally burnt
Naomi
up.
Watts, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's
Like
fine.
she's immature,
There-
but
look,
she doesn't feel broken. She
there-
doesn't feel like sad
There's a world where she's kind of like Toni Collette in
about a boy or Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense, where it's like, yeah, oh, I get it. Like, yeah, this mom's a little weird and a little unconventional, but she's like a good mom at the heart of it. But I would say this movie does not succeed in that portrayal.
And 2 points. For the movie to work, the Naomi Watts character... Look, there are 1,000 reasons this movie doesn't work.
Yeah.
But for that plot line to actually kind of track, the Naomi Watts character has to be more of a disaster, a la the Sarah Silverman character, where you're like, oh man, she really can't keep herself up. Whereas with the way the Naomi Watts character is characterized, you're just constantly like, is she just choosing not to take on any responsibility because she's lazy?
Right.
Like she's just trying to like force herself into adolescence. It feels like Naomi Watts is playing a child in an SNL sketch.
Yeah, sure.
Where you're like, well, this is non-literal, representational sketch comedy, and she's doing a good job of like affecting the mannerisms of a small child, like a little boy playing video games on the couch.
It all feels a little forced, as does everything in this movie.
Okay, so that's this movie, right? That's the initial
That's your
relationship
setup.
that's set up.
Right.
And then the other thing is that Henry is this weird creative genius where he makes these fucking Rube Goldberg machines around the house.
They have this like steampunk tree house in the woods that he and his little brother go to. And like
The door is made out of a fridge, but it's the perfect section of a fridge, and like the roof is an upside down tugboat, and the fucking like the staircase
it's a bunch
is
of
like bones or
concept
whatever.
art
It's all
garbage.
like right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's all like found art, beautiful like Brooklyn artisanal art festival.
I like the sound of a bone stair.
He made that.
I made that part up.
Oh, okay.
But the door is a fridge.
Cool.
And it's like they go in there, and here's one of the many zillion problems I have with this movie. It's like they go into this wonderland. What do? Henry doesn't really do anything.
No.
He starts like scribbling like fucking
Notes.
equations on a
Oh, he's got his
chalkboard or something.
chalkboard. Yeah.
Meanwhile, he has a Rube Goldberg machine that you like activate all these pool balls,
Yeah.
they like suck a puppet's dick. and then like all it does is it like squirts icing onto a cupcake.
Yeah. Too much business.
Just squirt the icing on
Yeah,
the cup.
right,
Like,
that's an
I don't
easy
know. Have
task.
a cooler Rube Goldberg machine. Like, have it do something.
It's like the world's worst juicero machine.
I guess the whole point of Rube Goldberg machines is like they do a simple thing complicated. So maybe I'm nitpicking, but like it just doesn't feel as wondrous as he wants
It's not.
you to.
And
feel
this movie's laying down the wondrous, like between the music and the
this like
shots and
tinkly music.
right. It wants you to be like so thoroughly charmed by everything that's happening. And Henry's bedroom is like covered with like blueprints of airplanes as the wallpaper. That's like not what they made, but it's like the most beautifully designed like children's wonderland bedroom.
Right.
And he's got like this old timey like aviator helmet and all these gadgets and Wizmos and fuck it, And so there's like a scene where Peter is getting picked on by older kids, and he's got like a bronze medal around his
Fucking shit. Yeah, it's
neck.
because he got a medal. Like Henry got a medal that was like smartest little shithead that ever lived medal.
And he gave it to Peter
He gives
'cause
it
he's
to
a
Peter
good big
because-
brother.
And he's like non-material. He's like, oh, medals are simply like metallic
Right.
forms.
It is a
of-
fiat currency to boost our confidence.
Yeah,
and you're
meaningless
like, shut up!
existential items. And so he's like, yeah, Peter can have it. Naomi Watts is like, okay, Peter can have it.
Peter goes to school immediately. They're like, fuck you, Peter.
You asshole.
They push him on the
Think you
ground.
can have a fucking medal?
They push him on the ground, and the metal breaks in half in a way that a metal would not.
It's true. And
It breaks as if it was
maybe
made
a
out of-
poorly made metal.
Maybe.
But Peter is angry because Henry was distracted from defending him. Henry's like 80 pounds soaking wet. This kid's not going to defend anyone.
There's like 3 years age difference between the two of them.
Swear to God.
This is like the least physically active kid. And he gets home, and Peter is inconsolable. He cannot get over this broken metal. So Henry is like, I know how to make you feel better. And Henry sets up a fucking rotating fan and gets a bunch of like confetti or soap flakes or fucking something.
I forgot about this.
But this is important,
Yeah, it is important.
okay? And then he puts on that dumb little helmet with the goggles.
Yeah, do you see
and he
the-
gets some, which is the poster image. This is the only moment where the helmet
He
comes
doesn't
into play.
ever
though.
use it again.
No. It's just sitting on their mantle as another piece of like fucking art direction.
Yeah, right.
Because there's too much business going on in their bedroom.
There's a lot of business
okay?
in their bedroom.
So he
Like
sets up.
it's like my bedroom, but when I was 17 years old.
Right, it's like my bedroom now. Except everything's there because I like it, not because some fucking person thought it would look fun.
Anyway, sorry. He sets up the stupid
Okay, so he
confetti
sets
or
up
whatever.
the fucking soap flakes and the fan, and he pours it so that like the door frame is like this, and Peter's on the bed, and Henry's out in the hallway, and all you can see from the door frame is like now this these-
snow blowing by.
It looks like snow is blowing by sideways Do you get what I'm saying? It's like the old Adam West Batman where he'd climb up the wall, but it was clearly filmed. Like they just tilted the
Henry
camera.
has two plungers, and he's like pretending to climb up a mountain.
So he's on the floor on his belly, pretending to climb up Mount Everest like there's snow coming down. And Peter loves this. He thinks it's so cute. And you're just like, what the fuck is this movie?
Yeah, you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I have no idea where this is going.
The first 45 minutes of the movie is all this kind of business. Like, it's mostly just sort of whimsical shit with one.
I'd say less. It's like 30. It's pretty compact because the whole movie's like 90 and out.
No, the movie's an hour 45.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's the first 45 minutes. I'm pretty sure about it. Because 45 minutes in is when something happens. But before we get to that.
But the whole movie, like, Henry is telling everyone that everything they do is like stupid human business they do to placate themselves from the meaningless of their lives.
But he does it too.
He does the most meaningless, like, dumb, frivolous
Because he loves his brother, you monster.
But you're like, that's the thing that will make your brother happy?
The other thing I want to note before we get to the serious
Peter
thing
loves it, by the way. He
is
loves
that
it.
Naomi Watts, when she's putting them to bed, like takes out a ukulele and plays a song, which is god awful.
The worst.
Oh boy!
And that was the opening line of your review. Can you quote the
it's
opening
like
line?
the movie lost me. I can probably find it.
But this is the oscillation between the movie where it's like, okay, sometimes for comedic effect, Naomi Watts seems totally checked out as a mom. It's like a child. They're parenting her. That's the joke. And he's like, stop playing video games. And she's like, oh, come on. Why are you so boring?
Mom!
And then sometimes when she's putting them to bed, she's like the most attentive, empathetic, like observant mother in the world. And they just want to play up these scenes that feel like, oh, this is what it felt when your mommy loved you. She tucks him to bed. She calls him Tamale 1, Tamale 2.
I know, Enchilada 1, Enchilada 2.
I'm sorry.
Will Goss wanted to check which one of us is Enchilada 1 and which one of us is Enchilada 2.
I'm Enchilada 2. I'm Peter. You're Henry, right?
Fair enough. The exact moment the Book of Henry
Right, because
lost
I'm
me-
meek and you're really smart and you know everything.
Well said.
Thank you.
The exact moment the Book of Henry lost me was when Naomi Watts reached for the ukulele.
Right.
That's my first line.
It happens 21 minutes
Now,
in.
the other thing that's going on is that Henry...
Yeah, she sings this original song that was written for the movie, and then Stevie Nicks does a cover of the song in the end credits.
That is true.
That's
Stevie
their
Nicks did
Oscar
a song
Best
for
Original
this
Song
movie.
play.
Yeah, it's going to win. So next door to the Carpenter family...
Oh, no. I forgot.
Wait, how did you forget?
Because I was so
This is the
focused.
fucking movie!
I know, I was so focused on this bullshit.
Next door to the Carpenter family is the Sickleman family.
Okay.
Oh, they sound nice.
Yes, Sickleman. Played by Dean Norris as Glenn, the patriarch, who is the stepfather to Maddie Ziegler's character, Christina, who's an 11-year-old girl in Henry's class.
And I would describe Dean Norris's performance as, what if Hank from Breaking Bad had no redeeming qualities whatsoever and no dimensionality?
It's basically like, you know, like... I can imagine. Here's how I did it.
Yeah.
If I'm directing it
Sure.
to get this exact performance,
Yeah.
I go up to Dean and I'm like, you know, your Under the Dome character, like worse. You want to do that worse? Because basically, he just sort of grumbles.
There's no shades of gray in this character. This
He's
guy is
like,
just...
his first introduction is like, he's like, Susan, and she's like, yeah, what's up, Mr. Fickleman?
Clenched
or
teeth.
Mr. Sickleman?
Sickle size.
Your leaves are blowing into my yard. And, like, I
Rake
have
your
I have
leaves!
to rake your leaves. But he's not even like yelling. He's just kind of like an asshole. He's just kind of like a little asshole.
You start out thinking he's an asshole, and then the movie slowly reveals to you that he
Slowly?
is the worst human being who's ever
All right,
lived.
so basically he's and then she, you know, it's some just to get some exposition out. It's like, you know, she says something to Maddie about to Maddie Ziegler to Christina like, oh, you know, you and your father, and she's like, stepfather.
In one of 5 lines this character has.
She doesn't say anything. It's
Okay.
true. And the idea is obviously she's very shut down. The film makes
is
no
styled like
effort.
Violet Incredible. She's got the hair hanging down over one side of her face. You
Okay.
can only see one eye. She's kind of slouchy.
And she doesn't talk much because why? Her stepfather is abusing her.
Sexually.
I think they actually never say it.
They
or
never
show it.
say it.
It's
It's a
has to
PG-13
be.
movie. I think it has to be.
But he's doing it with the curtains open. So this is why this is knowledge, because Henry's watching from next door through his bedroom window as she's
Totally
like,
adjacent windows.
right, as she's sitting in her room looking very despondent, and you're like, he's looking down, and then on the ground floor you see him, like the stepdad sitting there,
She's
like
on the
drinking
top
his whiskey.
floor, like brushing a Barbie doll's hair. He's on the bottom floor, like drinking whiskey and growling, and then he follows
it's
him
like-
up to the bedroom, and then it'll just cut to Henry's reaction.
It's like a fucking like educational video about like detecting child abuse. It's like
Right.
make sure like watch for signs, and it's like the most sort of like basic undramatic lack of nuance, whatever,
Yeah,
however
it's
you
very
want to put it.
didactic.
It's just like,
yeah.
he is abusing her. FYI, like, important for later story.
Now, in this scene where she is introduced and he yells about or grumbles about the leaves, it's also set up. Naomi Watts is so happy to see her. They have a secret handshake, like a very complicated
they're
trap
like,
secret
hey, what's
handshake.
up? Catching the flip side, homeboy.
Apparently, Naomi Watts and this girl next
She's
door
so fucking annoying.
are best friends. And then when they walk away, Naomi Watts is like, so when are you going to make her my daughter-in-law to Henry? And just keeps on talking about how Henry's going to date this girl.
Right.
And so you think they're setting up something where, like, okay, they have a weird flirtation, but then they never talk the entire movie because this girl's not a character.
She's not a character.
Despite the
She's
entire
not
movie
really
being about her, they never make her a human being.
Excuse me. Until the end. We'll get to that, though.
Yeah, there better be a reason why they're having a character be put through
Oh, no, you'll
this.
see.
Horrible
No,
shit.
you'll see. You'll see.
Oh, Ben.
So,
Well, I'm not going to see it.
Ben, you'll see.
45 minutes into the movie, or so.
Well, after there's the first
Oh,
night
right.
where
Also-
you see him on screen observe the abuse,
Yes.
right?
So-
and then the next day he goes into school and there's
Talks
a
to
test.
the principal.
Well, he's sitting there and she's like at the
She's totally
cafeteria.
out of it.
She's not eating her food. He knows his bruises on her. And he goes to the principal and he's like, I've told you once. I told you 1,000 times. All the signs are there.
Right. Bruises, her grades have declined. Like,
Lack of
she's-
appetite.
Yeah.
And the principal's like, Henry, you're a child. You have no evidence. I can't go off of this.
Right. The principal's basically saying, I can't make a baseless accusation. And the other thing is, he's the police commissioner, so it's hard to, like,
Ooh, twist.
accuse him of a crime.
The beloved police commissioner is abusing
Of
his
this
stepdaughter,
town,
but no
Cavalry,
one
New York.
will believe him. And in this movie, the only person who has power to actually take the police commissioner down is the principal, if she chooses to.
I guess so, but there's...
It's seemingly, because she's...
Well, okay, well, let me just get this out, and then we got to get to the first twist.
Yeah.
Henry does call Child Protective
takes
Services.
a pamphlet out of her office, dials the number on the back.
And then watches as this Child Protective Services officer goes to the house, talks to Hank. I mean, he's not called Hank in this movie, Glenn.
and he goes
he's
like,
kind
Glenn,
of
hey, sorry, I don't know what's going on
patting him
here.
on the shoulder. Hey, I just got to talk to her.
You know, I gotta check.
It's all kind of wordless because he's watching, and then Henry turns over the pamphlet. And the head of Child Protective Services is like Jim Sickleman or whatever, his brother. He's wired the whole town for child molesting.
But the movie's setting up this
It's
thing.
the stupidest thing in the world,
Yeah,
where it's
yes.
like. This goes straight to the top. This one thing where he just abuses one person. He
And
has
this
people
movie-
installed in every position of power.
This movie's weirdly anti-bureaucracy, even though it's not making any larger point, because Henry's like, the principal won't listen. The police commissioner's in on it. His brother's Child Protective Service agency. No one will listen to me.
I think the idea, if you're going to do this movie well, or if the script would be possibly good, it's not a bad script,
It's a bad script.
is like, the idea is like Henry, who like is so smart and can work the stock market, yada, yada, but he's being confronted with this more complex human problem
Yes.
and these human failings.
Right.
And he's like, I can't do anything about this. Why can't I fix this?
This
like,
is
I can
a
fix
movie about a
anything else.
child trying to figure out how to deal with a world that doesn't exist in absolutes.
Right.
That isn't hard numbers.
Now, there's
that
a
involves
way to do that.
Finesse. Yes. But here's what happens. At that moment, when these pieces are on the board and you think that's the movie that should be made,
Sure.
Henry out of nowhere gets a tumor.
He gets brain cancer.
They do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in
They
the
have
most
a
annoying way.
montage where they play that song.
Yeah, they'd play that song.
And Scottie Pippen comes onto the court. Vladi Divac.
Come on and slam.
George
And welcome to
Mirzon.
the jam.
Yes.
No.
The Monstars.
He like
Barnyard Dog.
He collapses from headaches. He goes to the hospital.
Well, she wakes up to hear Jacob Tremblay screaming.
Right. He's having
and he's convulsing
a
on the
seizure.
floor.
Right.
And they go to the hospital.
They take him to the hospital. I fucking hate this
They
scene.
immediately perform brain surgery on him.
Right. Well, they go to the hospital.
They're like, we got to perform right away.
Well, Lee Pace is like, have you been having headaches? And he's like, yeah, for a few months now. And Lee Pace is like, this kid has a major tumor. It's on his brain. We need to take it out.
And Henry corrects him. He's like, well, I thought it was just this and that. So I thought the symptoms weren't.
That happens after the
okay.
surgery. Lee Pace comes in. Henry's head's all bandaged up.
Yeah.
That's, he had brain surgery because of the bandage on his head.
Okay.
And he's
A
like,
little tip, filmmaking tip for you. To convey brain surgery, put a bandage on someone's head.
and he's like, hey, sport, slugger.
Yeah, how you doing? You see,
Bad
the thing is,
news.
there's a nasty thing in your head. And he's
There's
like,
a bully in your body. And we tried to
and Henry's like, give it to me
send that
straight,
bully to
doctor.
timeout.
What are we
And he's like,
talking?
what are we talking,
melanoma?
monosyllabic?
Yeah, blah,
Yeah,
boop,
yeah.
boop, boop, boop.
Right.
And the doctor's like, oh, rather than going like, hey, what's the deal with you knowing about advanced brain doctoring?
Right.
He's like, oh, do you want to take a look at your MRI? And Henry's like, oh, yeah, there it is. Third frontal lobe. Like, it's fucking stupid. I don't care how smart you are. You don't know neurosurgery.
He knows everything. And
He went to school for 4 years to learn this shit.
And Henry essentially says, like, well, I assumed it was this kind of cancer, so I probably have 8 years to live. Oh, I misdiagnosed myself.
Oops.
I only have 2 days to live. And he's like, wait, how did you know you had this? Because in the movie, when he's convulsing, they all act like this has never happened before. Up until that point, he's just had a couple headaches, and he somehow self-diagnoses himself with some kind of brain tumor.
Well, first I thought it was just stress.
Right.
And you're like, how smart are you supposed to be? Because you're smart enough that you know the particulars of brain tumors and how to read an MRI, but you're also stupid enough that you have 3 months of blurred vision. You think it might just be stress? You're 11. How stressed out are you?
So Lee Pace is the handsome doctor.
God, I'm yelling so much.
Dr. Ronan the accuser.
Yeah, Dr. David Daniels. He's pretty good in the movie.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, good actor. Anyway, so
He
like
essentially tells him you got like less than a week to live. You're dying now.
The middle 20-25 minutes of the movie is Henry dies. Yeah, I feel like there's a few scenes because there's this scene where
Leaves
Sarah
are turning
Silverman
brown.
comes in and they do their famous bit where she calls him Hank.
Okay.
Which is their famous bit where she's
we
like, hey,
forgot about
Hank.
this.
And he's like, it's Henry, you dumb bitch.
Right,
Like,
and then he
essentially-
calls her like a whore and a slut and a bunch of big thesaurus words, like
it's
$10
fucking
words.
nuts, the hostility these two.
Right.
Almost like he's like jealous of her.
Okay, so he just keeps on making jokes about her being like a loose, promiscuous woman and a drunk, and she calls him Hank and just is like sort of like, backhanded, diminutive to him.
Yeah.
And then she comes in to visit him by himself when no one
Scene
else is in the room.
Bad.
And
he's
she's like,
oh, I see. Now it's the moment in the movie where we do this. Like, he
Right.
explains what's happening.
He's like, this is page 75 of the
Because
screenplay.
you feel bad about me now, and you feel bad about how
But he also says, like, look, I know we've always had a contentious relationship, to say the least, but I'll be honest, it was a coping mechanism for me to shield my libidinous interests. And, like, what he says in dumb Henry speak is, like, I always made fun of you because I thought you were pretty. And then he translates it. Like, he says that.
Yeah,
He goes,
and
like, what I'm
then-
trying to say is...
And then the movie cuts away from the scene and nothing else happens.
Nope. Sarah Silverman kisses him.
On the mouth. Dun, 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 dun. And
it's
then CNC Music Factory come back.
Oh, they bring him back in. That's fun.
D-back. And then the movie acts like the love that could have been if Henry had not died. Like, there's this
He could
wistful
have married
kind of...
this 42-year-old diner waitress.
that's
It's like the
No,
ending of
okay,
Blank
okay.
Check, except 10 times worse.
It is, but she does kiss him on the mouth, and it is weird.
Right.
And then he dies in his mother's arms,
But-
saying, I want to see the sky.
But they find him on the floor of the room, and they're like, what are you doing on the floor out of your bed here? And he said, I want to see the sky. So the movie is about the sky.
Yeah, of course it is.
Oh.
It should be known the movie is about the sky. But they find him on the floor, and he dies in her arms.
And then the movie ends, and that's the end of the movie.
Are you serious?
No, absolutely
no.
not.
There's like a whole third act.
You have no idea what the fuck happens next. Okay.
Then the Book of Henry is opened.
He says to Peter, Peter's in his room one day, and he's, do you want a brownie? No. Do you want this? No. He doesn't want food because food is a mere lie that humans tell themselves.
Right.
To give
Henry's a
themselves
breatharian. He only absorbs light.
Okay.
I'm joking. That's not true.
So few of what we're saying is a bit. You don't know.
Yeah, right. That's the thing.
Every once in a while we're
Everything
throwing...
is plausible. Most
Yeah.
of this is in the movie, not everything.
Okay, so he says to Peter, he's like, Peter, you gotta do me a favor, okay? You gotta do me a solid, okay? You're the person I trust most in the world.
Right.
You have to give her the Book of Henry. He doesn't call it the Book of Henry. But he's like,
calls it my
I
book.
got this
He's got a
red
notebook.
notebook with like the fucking Wright brothers flying machine
Yeah, exactly.
etched on the outside.
The Vitruvian Man 2 or whatever.
And you have to give her
asshole.
the red book. Don't read it, Peter.
Right.
But Mom must read it.
Okay, so he dies.
In her arms, then
They're sad.
How do you show that they're sad? Here's a shot of Peter standing in the middle of a busy street with his head down, Charlie Brown walking as leaves fall around him and sad music
That's
plays.
true. That's a shot that you have. She's kind of in a daze. At one point, she's like, listen, Peter, I decided, look, I know I've been a little out of it because my son just died in my arms, but dessert every meal for the week.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she's like got a bowl and it's like chocolate syrup and she's like pouring Jolly Ranchers into it.
And there's one kind of cute moment when Jacob Tremblay brings his fucking dessert lunch from his goddamn emotionally retarded mother. I'm sorry for using that word, but she's an idiot.
Yeah.
And he's like, does anyone want to trade me for fruit? And all the kids take his dessert and they give him their fruit.
Now he's lousy with fruit.
I think that moment's okay.
That's fine. Jacob Tremblay's good in this movie.
Jacob Tremblay,
he's the one who kind of comes out
who's kind
unscathed.
of doing his thing that he did from
But
Maroon.
boy,
like,
is that thing effective.
yeah, he's a cute kid. He's fine. I
He's
mean,
very natural. He's
def-
very winning.
one
and
of those
genuine.
cute kid actors where you're like, this is gonna be rough when
It's
he's
gonna
13.
be ugly.
Oh boy! But you know,
gonna get ugly.
I still like when I was watching the movie. I was thinking about when he won that BFCA award, and he got up and he said, "First, I want to thank the broadcast film critics." And the camera cuts to Gina Rodriguez, like literally going like, like at the like absolute like perfect poise of this kid. It's so cute.
I just want to meet Jacob Tremblay and be like, look, kid, I used to be pretty cute too. Like people used to be pretty charmed by my thing.
It's
Yeah,
ugly
look at what we got right now.
Boy, oh boy, no one wants a piece of this. Let me tell you.
Man, I can get arrested in this town.
BFCA, more like no F you.
I used to be a regular Jacob Tremblay. I was the Jacob Tremblay of Greenwich Village.
God, that sounds like a great movie. All right,
Okay,
so they're sad.
They're very sad.
Jacob Tremblay decides to crack open the book of
Well,
Henry.
you're missing two things.
What?
Because there's one moment here that I think is emblematic of a certain type of terrible
Where's your
screenwriting.
phone? Where are we at right now?
Where are we at right now?
Oh, boy. 23 minutes.
Okay, we're 23 minutes left or 23 minutes left?
23 minutes left.
Okay. There's a moment here that I think is emblematic of something the screenplay does really, really poorly, okay? They're making the dessert
Desserts.
breakfast, right? And these are the 2 months I want to spotlight.
What?
Ding dong, go to the door. Who is it? Oh, it's Dr. Ronan the
Lee
accuser.
Pace is here, yeah.
And his first line is, "Oh, hey, I'm sorry. I know we had said 4:30, but I was in the neighborhood, decided to stop by a little earlier." And she goes, "Oh, okay." And then he goes, I don't usually make house calls, but I just felt the need to check out on you and Peter, so I thought I'd stop by and do that.
We get it. He making a fucking house call.
Right, but if he says, "Hey, I know we agreed on 4:30, but I got here a little earlier," she knows what the deal is. He called her up and said, "Hey, I don't usually make."
explain it because the audience doesn't understand.
Okay, so the movie has no faith in the audience.
Like
and the other one like that is she goes back to work at the diner, and Bobby Moynihan, who's her boss, is like, "Hey, you think you came back a little too soon?"
because she someone asked for a milkshake and she
She's like,
puts
"My coffee
bacon
has
on
too
his
much
head or
sugar in
whatever.
it," and she takes
No,
downs
it's
the
like,
whole
"Hey,
thing.
is this Diet Coke or Coke?" And she drinks the whole thing and she's like,
chugs it.
"Diet."
Yeah.
And then she throws the glass at their head, and CNC Music Factory comes in.
And Bobby Moynihan's like, "You came back to work too early." And she's like, "No, I'm fine." And he's like, "Look, I thought single mom, rundown house, you needed this job. Find out you live in this crazy mansion with bespoke art direction. You have $680,000 in the
You
bank.
have a steampunk treehouse that's bigger than my apartment.
Right. You don't need this job. Go take some time off." And she's like, "No." And he's like, "I'm not asking, I'm telling." And she walks out, and Sarah Silverman follows her. And in another piece of character business, Sarah Silverman always pretends that she's a billionaire and goes "Yeah, I was going to fly my yacht this weekend, but then
the Jag was in the fucking Concorde.
Fucking
all right,
whatever.
we get it.
So
Yeah.
she comes out and starts saying that thing. And then she's like, "Come on, why don't you come hang out?" And Naomi Watts is like, "I can't. I have to go home to my 2 children."
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
You get it? Because one of them's dead.
Oh, she realized in that moment.
Or she's doing a bit. I don't care.
Why would she ever say 2 children?
'Cause she's
and
doing
I know
the
it's
bit.
a little detail.
She's doing the bit.
No, the bit is that she doesn't remember for a second. I forgot my son is done.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think the bit is she's doing the bit, but in a hostile way, where she's like, because Sarah Silverman's like, "I would have been late, I was late, but the Jag," and she's
I saw
like,
it's the
"Well, I
opposite of
have to
that.
go home to my 2 children."
I saw it as the
where
opposite.
she's like, "Your shit's fake, and so is mine because of my dead child."
I saw it as she was killing the bit, but
Yeah.
then okay. But either way, and I know this is.
Tiebreaker.
What I think?
Who's right?
I mean, either way, we both lose.
Yeah.
Who's right?
David, you're
Yeah,
right.
great.
Fine.
Thank you.
But either way,
I just wanted to complete the bit.
the cleaner version of that line is "go home to my children" because children is plural.
2 children.
But I'm saying to say 2 is like hat on a hat.
Yeah, well, this movie's got a lot of hats.
This movie has more hats than I've ever seen.
What about the neighbor who's abusing his daughter?
great question.
So
Are we getting to
Peter
this?
opens the book of Henry, goes down to see his mother. What does he say to his mother? "Mother, I think Henry wants us to kill our neighbor."
He goes, I read this book. Henry told me not to. I couldn't really understand most of it. Can you look at this? And the book is Henry has outlined in detail
how to commit the perfect murder. In the book.
Then I swear to God.
And
this is what the movie is now about.
This is what
That's what the movie's about.
This is the third act in the movie, which is
this is the
40
second
minutes.
and third act of the movie.
It's a lot of the movie. And there's an initial fight between little Peter and Susan.
I'm not going to murder somebody.
No. Where Peter says, we have to kill Glenn. And she's like, Mr. Sickleman. And he's like, well, Henry, it was his dying wish. We have to kill him. And she's like, Peter, we are not murdering the police commissioner. And that's final.
And it's like
that's a line in the movie.
It's played as like a comedy of manners.
Right. It's like
the joke is how flippant
right.
that she's like punishing him. Like, listen to me, mister. We're not murdering anybody. But then she keeps on going like, oh, come on, there has to be another way. And then he turns the page of the book and the next page says why there is no other way.
Right.
Shit like that where like the book is like fucking anticipating everything the mom was going to say about why she shouldn't do it.
And then she's watching from the same place that Henry watched. I'm moving this along, Griffin. Yeah. She's watching the child abuse happen.
This daughter who's had 2 lines of dialogue. She's in the bedroom.
Again, curtains open.
Right. And she sees him go upstairs and walk into the room, close
her.
the door, cuss her shocked
She's
face.
Like, no, Glenn, no.
She goes in the other room to call him.
Calls him.
So that he'll stop and goes like, hey, I'm calling to
this is
say...
where me, Emily, and Armand just burst out laughing.
I'm calling to say I'm going to your good friend Armand White.
She said...
I'm going to... those leaves.
Those leaves. I've been slacking on it, but I'm taking care. I'm on it now.
And he's like, okay.
He's like, okay. But what she really means is, I'm going to murder you.
So she decides now that she's going to murder him. Per the notes.
She follows.
So she has now decided to murder a human being.
Murder her neighbor.
Her neighbor.
A human being
that
who
she's
is
known
committing
for a while.
A sinful and terrible crime.
Sure.
Without punishment.
But Henry is convinced this is the only way to deal with the situation because
he
the principal
was
won't
convinced.
listen. Right, he's convinced.
Dead.
And she reads the book.
But
and
he left behind
the book keeps on
tape.
telling her. Well, yeah, one of the things in the book is it says go down to the safe. And he goes down to the safe and there's a mini cassette recorder.
Which she
like
will now...
Fletch.
Yes.
A kid in 2015.
He left her a tape.
Went to eBay and bought like vintage mini cassette tapes.
Because you can just destroy the tape. If it was digital.
Yeah.
She'd be anyway. She buys the tape. Now here's the perfect murder. Excuse me.
Please,
I know it's really complicated. It's really complicated how to execute the perfect murder. Here's how you do it. You buy a gun. You shoot him in the head.
I swear to God, the movie never explains why it's a perfect murder beyond that.
The only thing he really
she's got
helps
no cover. She's got no alibi. Really.
The only thing he helps his mother with is like
how to purchase a gun.
How to purchase this gun illicitly off the books, which is essentially by eavesdropping at the gun store. He's found out if you say like Victor sent me or something like that,
they'll sell you an assault rifle without the waiting
permit or waiting period. So it'll be like, and then he's gone around town and he's found out if you throw the gun off this bridge into a dam, then no one will find it.
Right.
Now,
so
he hasn't explained how the cops are going to be like, this guy got shot in the head. The bullet must have come from this steampunk treehouse. Like, they're not that fucking stupid. They're not going to be like, he must have fallen on a bullet.
Because the idea is their 2 houses are right next to each other, right? Jeez. And if you went out back behind the houses into the woods,
her to lure him out there.
Right. You would first find that bridge where they call it Gun Throw Bridge, where you can throw the gun into the water. And then past on the other side of that bridge is the bespoke treehouse, which is a perfect assassination spot.
Yeah.
So he outlines how to trick Glenn Sickleman into going into the woods where she can shoot him from the treehouse, then throw the gun over the bridge and never get caught. And he keeps on telling her in the book and now on the tape, because the tape is narrating like, Mom, I know this is going to sound crazy, but you have to believe me. But the tape also talks to her in real time where it's like, go to the ATM. There's a $500 limit. Take a left and go to the next ATM. No, Mom, the other left.
Right, and she
she walks off the right way,
and she'll be like, she's like, only $500. He's like, I know only $500, but if you go to the next ATM, you'll be able to get another $500.
She listens to the tape on this cassette recorder with iPod headphones.
Yes,
and the tape will say something like, get $500. Then there will be a silence in the tape, enough time for her to out loud say,
what?
In an outdoors voice, Henry, what are you talking about? Only $500? Mom, I know $500 isn't going to sound like a lot. Like, this kid fucking recorded this tape.
We're running out of time, right? What time are we at?
You have 15 minutes.
But yes, it's all bullshit like this. But is there anything else before the actual crime?
there's a lot of shoe leather.
There's just a lot of her buying the gun, getting the money for the gun,
questioning it, and
learning how to shoot. Like he teaches her via the tape how to like fire. This is like a high-powered assault rifle with like fucking hollow point ammunition that's going to explode on contact.
It becomes like wanted shit.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like bending bullets.
And you got to remember the tinkly score is still there. The autumnal lensing, like all the crap's still there.
Patina.
But at the same time, she's got this fucking black like dick of a gun, and she's like getting ready to shoot him.
Okay, so here are other things that are happening in the movie. Even though Peter read the book and brought it to her and said, "I don't understand all of it. What's Mr. Sickleman doing to Madeline?" And she goes, "Something bad. I don't want to tell you about it."
It's not Madeline. It's Christina. The actress Madeline.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She then tells Peter that she's not going to murder Glenn Sickleman. And then goes ahead planning to murder him, and Peter seems completely oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah, he's not involved. I guess she doesn't want to make him an accessory.
Even though he knows already because he's read the book.
Look, I don't fucking know.
Okay,
anyway.
But the other thing that's going on here is it kind of, they start like hitting these strings of like, when's it time for you to grow up and become a mother? Like, Henry was being the parent. Now you got to be the parent. Right. And she keeps on saying, like, my priority is I need to be a good mother for Peter, which is why she's going to commit a crime that could lead to her getting put in jail, leaving Peter with no family whatsoever.
But it's also like, it's this whole thing where she let him boss her around for so long.
Right.
So she's letting him boss her around from the afterlife.
But in the tape, like, Henry keeps on saying stuff like, "Mom, if you mess up on one detail, they'll catch you." And it's like, hey, guess what? If the stakes are this high, how
Don't
about just
do it!
double down on the one kid you got, call the cops.
Fucking call the cops and be like, no, for serious, I'm a grown person. This man is committing abuse.
Well, because the justification is right, because they called the child services and it's the brother. Well, then
and
just
he's the
get
police
someone else, or film it if it's so
camera. The curtain's open. Just set up a fucking camera. You can buy them. They're like Nest cameras now. You can get them for $300.
I'm not one of these fucking CinemaSins guys who likes to look there and go like, "Well, Juno could have just gotten an abortion."
I agree.
Okay,
right. You don't want to be like
fuck that. But this movie is asking you to believe that a mother would choose to follow the advice of her then 11-year-old son and commit a murder because there is no other option, even though their window is completely equidistant, perfect view of where this abuse is always happening with curtains open. Take a fucking picture.
Yeah.
They
Anyway.
can't deny it, but they don't do this. There's no other choice. Turn to the next page in the book. Why there's no other choice but to murder.
Here's what happens. She takes the two kids, Christina, the abuse victim, and Peter.
Well, she goes to Dean Norris and she says, "Do you have a will? What happens if you die?" Because your wife
in this very
is gone.
terse conversation.
It's very weird. And you can't figure out if they're implying that he killed the wife or what happened to the wife.
And he's like, no, haven't thought about it. She fakes his will. Or Henry has faked his will. She signs it.
She gets a form from him saying that she can bring Christina to the talent show.
So she gets his signature, forges the will that says Christina will live with her if he dies. Files that will.
Christina has one line in that scene where she comes downstairs and she goes, "How's school, honey?" And it goes, "Math is tough.
Math is hard."
So Christina's had 3 lines of dialogue at this point in the movie. And the whole movie's about people
point
committing murder to save her.
You know, she's a total prop. It's terrible. And so here's what Naomi Watts does to commit the perfect murder. Takes these kids to the talent show, leaves the talent show immediately, drives back home where Dean Norris is just at home. Why couldn't he take the kids to the talent show? He's not doing anything.
Because she
it doesn't
gave
make
him
any
the
fucking
form
sense.
that said that he was going to
make
take her
sense.
to the talent show.
Lures him out into the woods
with
to
a tape
shoot
recorder,
him
so
with
he follows a noise. What's that noise out there? Oh, it's Henry's tape recorder.
Lures him out into the woods. She's got her gun trained on him. Then she accidentally knocks over something to start another Rube Goldberg machine he has set up. I mean, this is the moment that is just patently ludicrous.
So on the tape, he says, "Mom, it is very important that you do not make a wrong move. Do not make any noise."
Yeah, and
even
immediately
the
she like
distraction.
farts and like
the Rube Goldberg machine goes off, and the Rube Goldberg machine is like a 3-minute cycle.
It's like a pool ball that like goes down 3 racks.
Right, and like then, a donkey kicks a fucking guava.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. A game of Mario Golf is played, and then finally, like all this just to make some Polaroids.
Wait, but for 3 minutes, this is going on in the background. She's there.
She's
You're
like,
seeing
oh boy,
through
like
the lens of the
juggling her
sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Dean Norris is just standing, investigating this tape recorder tied to a branch, not moving for 3 minutes, and then final step of the Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah.
It's a chain, like a Jacob's ladder of Polaroid pictures of Henry at different ages.
Yes. And I don't know why this exists. It's not related to the perfect murder. It's
Why
some
would
other
that be
machine.
the payoff?
No idea.
Why would Henry tell her that the only place to commit the perfect murder is a place where if you move an inch, a Rube Goldberg machine will go off and make a lot of noise, a bunch of whizzing
She
bells?
looks at these Polaroids and she realizes he was just a kid.
Because when she drops them off at the talent show, where Peter's about to perform, right after his brother has
And
died.
Christina's going to perform.
His only friend, her surrogate daughter, the one she has the secret handshake with, right?
Yeah.
Henry, Peter earlier in the movie says he wishes he had died instead of Henry.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, that is not true. You are just as special to me as he is. But she's like so worried with this murder that she's not raising her son who's still alive.
Okay,
He's going
we
through a
don't
really
have
tough
much
time.
time. How much time do we have?
Oh shit, we are 9 minutes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Enough.
No,
chit-chat.
but this is
Come on.
important. This is important stuff. So the talent show, it's set up. This is important. The talent show.
Well, I know the talent show's important. You're going on about our dynamics with Peter. Like, we got to get to the talent show.
Peter's performing at the talent show. So
These
is
things are cross-cutting, as far as I can remember.
right. But one performance
So is
happens
Christina.
before, one
Christina
happens after.
happens first.
So he's scribbling on some drawing at the wall, like defacing some other kid's art. And she's like, why are you doing that? And he's like, because Henry would have liked it. She's like, Henry's just a child. He wasn't right about everything. So when the Polaroids goes off, she's like, right.
He was
Henry's
just a kid.
child.
I shouldn't
he wasn't
kill
right about
someone
everything.
because an 11-year-old who's dead left me a tape.
So while she's like running, racing the clock, driving back to get to position to shoot him, you're seeing like a kid do a rap routine. You're seeing tap dancing happening over
burps.
now dramatic like thriller music.
Right.
And it's
then-
a car chasing. She gets there, and while she's like debating whether or not to take the shot, and the Rube Goldberg machine's going off. What's her name? Christina does a ballet performance, which is why they hired Maddie Ziegler, because she's a dancer. Except the dance routine is so overcut, so backlit.
Look,
so poorly covered that it could have been anyone.
No, but beyond that, that's not the problem with
She
this.
starts crying. But I'm saying it also defeats the
but
purpose
it's so
of casting
bad.
that
Look,
person.
this is the scene. It's immortalized on the poster. It's supposed to be the emotional crux of the movie where Christina does this ballet routine that is essentially her externalizing her abuse,
and
right?
she
It's
cries
like,
during it.
Right. She is trying to
breaks
represent
down.
through them the art of dance, how she feels about the fact that she's being sexually abused. And the principal is
off in the
waiting in the
wings.
wings, watching with tears in her eyes.
And she goes,
'cause she
finally, that's the
realizes,
proof I
like,
need.
What?
shit.
A dance is the evidence?
This is the point at which everyone in the theater is cackling. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know about you because you're watching with like 3 old ladies.
I saw it with 3 old ladies in the
so
theater.
I don't think they're, but like every film critic in the audience is just fucking howling because how can you not? Like, it is such a goddamn manipulative, like treacly moment.
And
that,
this is
like,
why I made this
is
comment.
so unearned.
About seemingly the principal has the only power in the entire movie, because once she's convinced by this dance routine, her word is suddenly proof.
No. What happens is she calls she reports it.
Okay, but at this point, Naomi Watts has walked out of the treehouse. These things are happening concurrently, okay?
Like
So-
really fast all of a sudden.
right, they play fast and loose with time, because
Yeah.
it also takes her like 20 minutes to drive
It doesn't matter. It
to
doesn't
the
matter.
treehouse, but 1 minute
Come
to
on,
drive
come on.
back.
We don't have much time. Come on.
Okay. So the principal goes off to make a phone call, right?
Naomi Watts
comes head to head with Dean Norris. She's holding this assault
She
rifle.
puts the gun like down next to her.
Right.
She doesn't even leave it in the treehouse.
He's like, "What's
And
going
he's
on
like,
here? What are you
What
doing?"
are you doing? Not like you have a gun. I could shoot you.
Yeah, who made this treehouse? It's lovely.
Is that a fridge? He's like, what are you doing? And she's sort of like, I know what you're up to.
I got you
I've
caught.
seen you. And he's like, you don't like have any proof. You don't know what you're talking
Who
about.
you think you're gonna believe? The chief of police or a
Right.
single mother?
And she's like, well, fuck you because I'm on it. And
She's like, I'm calling the
"Fuck
cops.
you.
And
I'm
he's like, I'm calling the cops first. They're gonna fucking arrest you for slander. So
Yeah.
she drives back to the talent show thinking that she's gonna get arrested.
thinking she's
For
in trouble.
slander?
I don't know.
Whatever he says.
It doesn't
Conspiracy.
matter. It
you know?
doesn't matter.
Attempted murder.
And then he goes back home and he gets a call from his brother or whoever, like some other cop, where they're like, I got to open this investigation. There's too much heat on
Glenn,
this.
it's too much.
I'm
I
sorry.
can't hold it
you
off
know.
anymore.
And he's like, sort of like, okay. Puts it off. What does he do, Griffin?
Well, because as she's driving back to the talent show, you hear the sirens, and she's like, "Oh fuck, I got to drop the the cops, they're chasing me. Nope, those cops are going to his house because the principal called. He hears the sirens arrive outside his door.
Yeah.
Kills
saw
himself.
that coming.
Right.
Okay. Clean. The real perfect murder.
So
She gets back to the talent show just in time as Peter's about to do his magic act as Peter the Great.
Peter has said already, like Lee Pace asks, like, what are you doing?
Oh, because she invites Lee Pace,
the
doctor.
doctor's there. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to do a magic trick.
Because he wants his mom to
he gets
get
on
the D
stage.
from the doctor.
He gets on stage and he's like, I will bring my brother back to life.
And everyone's like, oh.
No, I know. I actually like this one because everyone in the theater, and imagine being like, this is small town, this kid's brother's dead. You're at the school talent show, and suddenly, like, it's a real wild card. You're like, wait, what the fuck's this kid gonna do?
I think he says, I'm going to make my brother reappear.
Maybe that's
And everyone's like, yeesh. It's like, is he going to take out a corpse? What the fuck is going on?
He's got like a treasure. He's got like a chest.
He's got a cape and a little top hat. He looks adorable. Jacob Tremblay rules.
Cute kid.
He's going to look like me in 5 years, but for now he's cute.
Opens the chest.
Taps the chest with his wand. Chest blows open. What comes out? Soap flakes.
Like the thing he did.
And then they fall from the rafters. Like he set up bags throughout the school auditorium. He rigged the entire auditorium.
Everyone's like, oh, which mostly I think they're just like, oh, thank God he didn't do something weird.
But also they're applauding as if they're like, oh, that famous Henry's climbing Mount Everest routine.
I think they're just
Everyone
happy.
knows about it.
I think they're just happy he didn't like burst into tears.
But it's not an impressive magic trick.
I don't know. How do you get the flakes come out of the chest? You're a cynic.
Put flakes in a check.
Yeah,
what
listen
do you
up,
fucking mean?
man. Flakes, they come out everywhere. Flake man, they could call
No
him.
one in the audience that has no emotional resonance for them, and they'd be like, how does this relate to his brother? Was he a soap flake fanatic?
This fucking movie.
Okay, so then they get out of the performance, and she's flirting with Lee Pace, and they see the cops, and she's like, oh, fuck. Okay, I'm going to get arrested. And then the principal's like, so Glenn Sickelman shot himself in the head.
Yeah, and they tell Christina, and she has no reaction really because she's not a character in the movie and can't act.
Yeah, she's not an actress, and she's not a character.
Cut to courthouse, and the judge, like, voiceover from judge, like, I do declare, God bless America, that you will be the mother of her forever, in perpetuity, unbreakably.
Enchilada number one, enchilada number two. She's tucking him in. High five. Christina has maybe 2 lines in this scene where she goes like, love you, or like, lights off.
I'm happy now.
Yeah. And she's reading them a storybook that she wrote because we've forgotten in the first scene they vaguely established that she wants to write children's books.
And she reads them a children's story that she has written, and Henry's like, derivative.
Yeah, characters are way too predictable. And now she reads it to the 2 kids who don't fucking suck. And they're like, that story's great,
That's
Mom.
That's nice, Mom. Thanks for writing a story for us rather than like reading Chicka Chicka Boom Boom again or whatever.
Tucks it under her arm, goes downstairs, does as you do, the ritual burning of my dead son's book and audio tapes. So there's no evidence.
And throwing away down a dam of the high-powered rifle I spent $1,100 on.
And then what's the last shot of the movie?
Isn't it just the lights out thing?
I think it's the lights out thing, and then
like tucks the kids
Stevie
into
Nicks
bed.
cover.
Yeah.
Take hands up,
How we doing?
See my reflection.
2 minutes.
Yeah, we did it. I mean,
Guys
we
did it. I mean, that sounds like trash.
That's
it's
a real
hot trash.
fucking movie.
I can't even believe that is a thing that's existing
It
right
takes
now.
a couple left turns, that one.
Yeah, but I keep on hearing people talk about like the big twists in the movie, and it's like I don't think this is a twist movie.
There's two twists.
I think the twists are it does things that movies shouldn't do.
Fine, but I mean, look, the trailers, for example, one thing that's funny about the trailers is they do foreshadow that she's going to buy a gun and try and kill this guy, but they don't tell you that Henry dies. So weirdly, they hide the first twist, but not the second twist.
I remember watching the trailer and being like, it's so clear Henry dies because at a certain point
It's
in the
obvious that
trailer,
Henry dies.
she's
She's not
only
in it.
reading his book and he's not there.
I know, but the whole...
And she's saying like, Henry wrote it all in the book. They're talking about him
know,
in a weird, distant way.
But like, the thing about this movie was, look, we all know Colin Trevorrow. He made Jurassic World, then he gets episode 9. But then everyone's like, oh, he did make this thing in between, Book of Henry. And no one's excited, but it's not like, you're like, oh, this will be a bomb.
Right.
I certainly didn't think it would be a bomb. I thought it would be okay.
Because I remember saying
I
to
thought it would
people...
probably be safety not guaranteed level, where I was like, I don't like it, but at
who
least
cares?
it's a
This
movie.
sucks, but whatever.
And then the trailer posts, and it's about like first half of the trailer is like an annoying kid, and the second half of the trailer is like Naomi Watts murder, and you're like, everyone was like, what the fuck is this? Like that was sort of what happened.
And then you see the movie, and it's even crazier. The trailer didn't misrepresent the movie; it actually tried to make it look more normal than it is.
Right.
And you're left wondering, what the fuck did he think he was making? Because it doesn't feel like this movie got away from him. It doesn't feel like he lost control. It feels like he greatly miscalculated the appeal of this story. And there were certain passages of dialogue that really fucking drove me insane. I got a literal headache watching this movie. And I had like slept well, ate well, like had no other reason other than this movie was like hurting my brain. Yeah. So I wanted to quote some specific passages of dialogue. And Emily Yoshida sent me a PDF of the script, but it turned out to be a draft from like...
Yeah, because this script's been kicking around forever. Right. There it is, yeah.
So I started leafing through the script to find the dialogue passages I was looking for, and they weren't in there, and started to realize, Colin Trevorrow did like a heavy rewrite on this, or someone did.
Change the dialogue.
So I looked through a lot of this, and
Look,
guess
I'll
what?
admit the dialogue in that script ain't good either.
No, but a lot of logic gaps, like Peter is with her on the murder for the entire movie in that draft of the script. Which explains why, like, he isn't just fucking ignored. Like, there's certain things that track better.
I can see why you take him out, because it makes no sense, even in the twisted logic of this movie.
It doesn't make sense either way. Like, nothing in the movie fucking makes sense. Who do you think this movie is for?
No, well, that's okay. Look, here's my thinking.
Yeah,
he read this script and he thought, this is crazy.
Yeah,
which is the only reason I assume this script's kicked around for so long. Where it's like, wow, if someone could really nail the basically halfway through turn of this movie from family drama into thriller, that'd be like nothing you'd ever seen before.
Okay, but fundamental problem. Both halves of the movie as written are bad.
Oh,
like there's
I don't
a jarring
disagree.
shift between the two.
I know, but yeah, I'm just saying, I'm trying to, why else would you take this script?
Well, I'll tell you my hot take.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, the one thing that seems to be like across the board in Colin Trevorrow's career, his 3 movies that I don't like, but also all interviews I've read with him, is that he loves this idea of like upending audience expectations. Which is his defense of them murdering the assistant so horribly.
Yeah.
In Jurassic World.
Right. He's really just trying to get a rise out of you.
The ending of Safety Not Guaranteed, which is the opposite of what you think is going to happen, is him being like, you thought this.
Look, honestly, I don't like Safety Not Guaranteed, and I don't like the ending, but I'll admit the reason that movie clicked for people, and I think
because of the ending.
Is because the ending lands.
Kathy Kennedy said that's the reason, or Steven Spielberg said that's the reason he gave him Jurassic World.
They saw him like melding genre and realistic, I guess. Whatever. It's a shitty movie.
He's a guy who's really focused on aesthetics of the types of movies he likes and what type of movie he's trying to make, but he doesn't understand storytelling function at all. So he's attracted to things where it's like, well, the audience is expecting this, but I'm upending expectations. But it's like he's deconstructing things that haven't been constructed yet. You know? Like, he doesn't understand how to make something work in order to upend it. And so you're left with these situations where it's like he thinks it's funny to have the secretary get murdered in Jurassic World because usually the villain gets brutally murdered and someone who's innocuous doesn't get hurt that bad.
Not murdered. Dinosaurs don't murder.
The pterodactyls murder.
She's killed.
Brutally.
Yeah, it's quite jarring.
As I said, I have never seen a filmmaker have that much fun killing off a character since the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark when all the Nazis have their faces melted off.
Yeah, no, the punishment did not fit the crime, put it that way. Anyway.
But I think what he likes about it was he was like, well, I was upending the expectations of genre work in this. And it's like, okay, but if you're not doing it for a reason other than to do the opposite of what people think you should be doing, then guess what? Either it doesn't work or the people who are enjoying it for the wrong reason. Because if someone's liking watching that woman get torn apart by dinosaurs, it's because they're like, yeah, fucking she sucks. She was trying to get married, Bridezilla.
So to kind of connect it to this movie, do you think that he read the script and he was like, people never make movies about kids dying of cancer and then people getting murdered and molestation happening. I'm going to make this to just
I'll blow people's minds. And it'll surprise people.
I think he was like, this is a screenplay chock full of things people aren't supposed to do in screenplays, which to me feels like it's playing with the tropes and expectations when it's just badly conceptualized.
Has he done any interviews about this movie?
Yes,
though?
he has. I've read a bunch of them.
Really?
There's a slash film one where he talks a lot
about it, like after.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, it was like, published this week, presumably was an interview done after someone had seen a screening of the movie.
Yeah,
and he said that was the whole thing, was just like, that twist is so crazy and it's like the audience has no idea what's going to happen at the movie at that point. He just loves fucking with expectations. But that's his only trick.
I know. I mean, honestly, I saw an interview with Naomi Watts where they asked her about it,
Yeah.
and she said the same thing, where she's like, it's just so unexpected, like all the mix of tones, and I really liked that.
Yeah, guess what else is unexpected? 9/11.
All right. What? What are you? That didn't land for me.
I'm saying.
This movie is. Come on, relax. Cut
I'm saying
that
just
out.
because something isn't expected doesn't mean it's good. And
No,
this
I don't
movie
agree.
also
Yeah,
like
but-
it subscribes to the theory that like
I'm
if you
reading this
put
interview right now.
serious things in a movie, then the movie is important. If a movie has cancer and it has murder and it has molestation in it, then oh my god, it's a movie about real topics.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm reading this interview with him, and yeah, I mean, it's clearly my reading was right, which is he just thinks, hey man, there's nothing like this, so if I get it right, like, it'll be like nothing else anyone's ever seen. It'll stick out. But there's an arrogance to that, I guess, obviously.
And he strikes me as an arrogant man. When he talks about himself in his films, he is very self-impressed, very self-congratulatory.
That's fine. I agree with you. Although, again, I don't really want to kick the guy when he's down. But he's
Down, he's about to fucking make Star Wars Episode 9.
I know he's a little annoying. I will allow. But
He's getting away with it. The perfect crime, even better than what Henry wrote.
But beyond that, it's more like there's a difference between reading a bad script and saying I can make a good movie out of this. And
Especially when he rewrote it to make it worse.
Well, yeah, but
from an
that's not-
already
Griffin,
terrible base.
For fuck's sake, yes, we know you don't like the movie, but I'm saying he rewrote it trying to make it better, right? Like, there's you can read a bad script and say, you know what, I could try to just totally rework this movie, make it good.
Sure.
Or you could read a bad script and be like, what's bad about this script is good, which is what he did.
But also, what I found in a lot of his rewrites were that things that were played a little more straight, right?
Yeah.
Once it takes the turn and becomes a little darker,
Right.
he tried to infuse some more jokes, some more lighthearted amblenisms into.
Right.
Like he made it more tonally confused. Because
Sure.
he wanted this light touch. All the stuff
I
with
think
the
it's also
inventions.
just
The Rube
his-
Goldberg machine isn't in
Right.
the original
I
draft.
think
He
that's-
added all the whimsical
That's right.
elements.
That's just his vibe, right?
Right.
Like that's because that's kind of what Safety Not Guaranteed is like.
But that's totally running counter to everything else the movie's doing.
Yeah, but come on, it was always going to be bad.
I agree, but
There's
like
no good version of this movie,
I agree.
right?
I agree, but his
Wait, is there?
no.
Like, there's no director who's going to look at this and be like, "Oh, I have the take." Like, you'd have to totally
Okay,
gut it.
Here's my take on that. The second Naomi Watts' character reads his plan to murder the guy, she goes, "I'm an adult. Murder isn't the answer. I will figure out how to get him arrested." So I think
Right,
there's
but then
no
you don't
way
have a movie, right.
I think what you said at the beginning, the only way you have a movie is if the movie is Henry, Wonderkin super genius, who tries to pull off this murder and doesn't understand how the world works and realizes the limitations of his own knowledge. I think the second it does the pass off to the mom having to commit the crime, it makes the character just implode. Because you're like, I can't take this woman seriously if she's actually going through with this.
I have a big question for you. The
Box office?
question. Let's play the box office game, and then I have a question,
Okay.
and then we're done.
Okay.
This weekend's box office.
Yeah, I mean, we're recording this on Saturday, so there are already estimates. But it looks like Cars, I think Cars is going to do around 50, 52.
Yeah, I can either give you the Fridays or I can give you the box office estimates. I mean, it's actually an interesting week at the box office, but not because of the Book of
Cars
Henry.
like 52, Wonder Woman's going to do like 40, All Eyes on Me is going to do like 34, 35.
32.
Okay.
According to this. Yeah. So yeah, Cars 3. 51, not great.
No, first Cars I think open at 60, second one open
Pretty,
at 70.
not great, Bob.
So it's the
I mean,
lowest.
I know
not
that-
great, Bob.
The thing they always say about Cars is like, it doesn't matter because it's the toys that
Merchandise,
sell.
yeah.
Okay, fine. Fuck you.
I think this is the last one they'll do. I
They-
think they'll just do
it has to
specials
be.
and shit after this.
Wonder Woman holding 32% for $40 million. That's very
A
impressive.
wonderful hold.
All Eyes on Me, the poorly reviewed Benny Boom Tupac biopic,
Yeah.
but there's an audience for
Starring
it
an
that Hollywood
unknown
does
Tupac
not
lookalike.
serve, so people are like after it. So despite the fact that this movie's barely been advertised, it's a out of the box hit.
Yeah, it's going to make
32 million?
like twice its budget opening weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 4, fucking Rough Night flopped like 10 million.
I'm hearing that, or calling that the Mandy Moore shark movie is going to end up doing more than Rough
Yeah, it's like in a battle with
Night.
the Mandy
One's
Moore
going to do 9 and one's going to do 10.
Hey, 47 meters down. Who'da thunk?
Yeah.
Which was supposed to be DTV, direct to video, and then The Shallows was such a hit. They were like, sharks, baby!
And also, This Is Us, NBC Thursdays. I think Mandy Moore
sure,
star
Mandy,
got
yes,
boosted.
yeah. And then at the bottom end of this, you got The Mummy doing very poorly. You got Pirates of the Caribbean, which is doing terribly.
So how many screens is Book of Henry on?
Book of Henry opened on 579 screens. It's probably going to make about 2 million, I think.
Really?
Yeah, 11. It's number 11 at the box office. Behind It Comes at Night.
Okay.
So that's pretty bad.
What was the other question you were going to ask?
Will Colin Trevorrow make Star Wars, Episode IX?
So here's the argument I was making to my friends last night, because a lot of people have said there's no way he gets fired off of it. Okay?
Right.
But I don't think it's even about how bad the reviews are. I don't think it's about
It's
whether
more
this
about
movie
like they
flops.
can't admit they made a mistake. What the that was alarming.
Sorry, yeah, that's my ringtone.
Oh, cool.
Old-timey car horn.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this movie shows such a fundamental sense of misjudgment that is innate into him and his storytelling sensibilities.
Right.
That coming off of, Force Awakens, which is the highest grossing film in history.
Yes.
Last Jedi, which they're apparently very happy with right now and happy with the job Rian Johnson did, to then give him the third film and what's the most important film franchise going on today is a big risk.
Yeah.
And Hawken, my friend, said it's sort of like if someone, a babysitter actually accidentally murdered someone else's kids and then called you up and were like, hey, am I still on to babysit your kids this weekend?
Right.
And it's like, no, you just murdered a kid. And it's like, well, but it wasn't your kid.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, to me, look, if he was making, like, Kevin Lincoln had a good article, friend of David Sims, Kevin Lincoln, in Vulture, that was like, it's not like Trank fucking up Fantastic Four, because that's the main event. Fucking up the side event is not as bad.
Right.
To me, the only argument is like, it's Star Wars Episode 9.
You have to deal with the death of Princess Leia.
Yeah, you're dealing with Carrie Fisher dying, but it's the conclusion of
Sensitive.
this very popular so far series of films.
And Kathy Kennedy's got a strong grip. She
like,
kicked Trank off. Gareth Edwards, she kind of put in the backseat for the reshoots. I mean, she doesn't fuck around.
The only reason would be if she was somehow worried. But I think there's more like a vanity to these producers. They're like, no, this is the guy. We like this guy. We picked this guy.
Can I ask why? Because I don't understand. I didn't see his first feature.
Yeah.
Some people like it.
But why is he getting pushed up in the ranks onto this? I don't understand that at all. Is it because Spielberg likes him? Or you mentioned Brad Bird?
These
He
guys
made this
like
feature
him.
that people liked, and then he made Jurassic World, which was a surprise hit, even by those
But
standards.
he's apparently very good in the room.
Yeah.
He's
But
one of these
there's-
guys in a meeting who talks like he knows what he's doing.
Sure, but there's like a million other filmmakers out there. Why is it this guy who's like made? I mean, Jurassic World was really successful in that it made a lot of money.
Yeah. Ben, you're tapping right now into the perplexion I deal
I don't
with
get it.
every
I don't
single
get it.
morning when I wake up. I go, I don't understand how this happened.
Well, look, it's just going to happen.
I'll say this though, the steampunk treehouse sounds cool.
So
We
tune in-
oversell that part. I feel like
Tune in next week when Ben will be broadcasting from a Steampunk Treehouse.
that's our new recording studio.
I'm into that.
So that's the Book of Henry, the Pot of Davy. And it's my least favorite movie I've ever seen. It made me really, really angry.
It's probably the worst film I've seen this year. It's very strange. It will stand, I think, the test of time as like a weird bad movie.
I think so,
rather
too.
than a regular bad movie.
Especially if he goes on to continue having a successful career. It will be like, what
For
the
sure.
fuck is
What
this
was
movie?
that? But I do think it will be swept under the rug practically. Like it's just going to debut this week. It's going to bomb. It'll be out of theaters within 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to talk about it.
I'll just say this. I think if Colin Trevorrow still ends up directing Star Wars Episode 9, which I think unfortunately is likely,
Yeah, no, for sure.
I imagine he'll be kept on a very, very short leash.
Could be, sure.
That would be my guess, is that he stays on, but they kind of go like, okay, Colin. Because I know they had to throw out the screenplay they already had after Carrie Fisher died. So they're pretty early on
Yeah,
whatever
but
they're
you know who's
working on
writing
now.
the Star Wars Episode 9 screenplay?
Yes.
Colin Trevorrow.
And
Derek Connolly, is that his name?
his
writing
co-writer.
partner? Yeah.
So let me just say, Star Wars Episode 9, coming from the director of Book of Henry and the screenwriter of Monster Trucks.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe Creech will be in it. Creech could have been in this. That would have been good.
God, I still got to meet Creech.
You still haven't met him, huh?
I haven't met him
I
yet.
haven't met him either. Anyway, so next week, the films of Christopher Nolan
Following.
again.
Well, hold on, really quick.
Yeah.
just for legal reasons, we should say to our listeners,
Sure.
We don't condone dick punching. On this show,
we don't. Don't
right?
attack Colin Trevorrow, guys. He's
Don't.
just a person who makes movies.
He's
for
just
fuck's
a
sake.
person, and if you happen to connect with his dick, your hand, and you're a
Fist or
listener,
foot, yeah.
whatever, that's not on us.
Okay, I'll say yes. I agree. Obviously, we have our fun. We do our bits. I don't actually think that anyone should punch Colin Trevorrow in the penis.
I'm sure he's fine.
But I'll say this: if for whatever reason you were interested, go into the basement, open up
The safe.
the safe. I have left for you a bunch of mini cassettes.
The code
I have a
is
book.
123.
And I figured it out. The perfect crime.
The perfect crime. No one will ever see it coming.
Punch Colin Trevorrow in the penis.
You're gonna need a Rube Goldberg puncher.
And you gotta throw
A Rube penis machine.
you gotta throw the machine into the river when you're done.
All right. That was the book of Henry because you demanded it.
I hope you liked it.
Weirdos.
Well, thanks. I mean, I wasn't gonna see that movie, but I'm definitely never
Yeah,
ever
don't
going
do
to.
Don't. No.
Yeah, don't do it. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe.
Yep.
Go to blankies.reddit.com for
Reddit.
some nerdy shit.
Sure.
Thanks to Ange Fergudo for our social media.
Yep.
Thank you to Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for artwork.
Yeah.
Lee Montgomery for our theme song.
Yeah.
And as always, this is why there is no other option than punching Colin Trevorrow in the penis.